Tony Gillespie, a man of great vision, again, a peer that I respect for the accomplishments that he's made and things that we did together with some of the transitions. Chief Officer 5, Mike Mann. I got to have a Chief Officer 5 work for me. That was awesome. And Mike was a really smart, is a really smart, not past tense, but is very smart and just knows how to get the mission accomplished. I mean, there were a few times he came in and sat me down and said, "Hey sir, I really think we do this." And I'd be like, yeah, Mike, you don't understand. We got all these other things going on. He'd keep pursuing that, and we did the right thing because of his persistence. Lieutenant Colonel Byron Spencer, I see you back there. Again, the cool thing for me was to be able to have the 0650 Lieutenant Colonel working for me during that period. And I got to tell you, if I had to work for a Lieutenant Colonel, I would have handled it a lot less professionally than Byron did over that time. So Byron, just tremendous work, just tremendous. You know, you can be proud of your time in the Marine Corps, and it was great having you work for me, though maybe just not fair to you, I don't know, but I appreciated the fact that that was the case. Master Sergeant Jefferson worked for me as a staff sergeant, then came back to when we were in combat together in OIF 1. Now he's a Master Sergeant, and he got to work for me again. That was a great hallmark of my career to see one of my Marines grow up, and really a brand new 06. I lose track. We used to have like different MOSs, 40-something, 4066s. You were 4066 back then too, right? 06 what now is it?
0659.
Okay, thank you. 0659. I should know that, but I still sometimes want to talk about Prick 77s. That's how far back I go. But you know, great work. I mean, you're just a great, awesome leader. One of those guys that I can turn to and I know is going to accomplish and get the mission done, even go beyond it. You work with people so well. You've just got that great personality. I hope you stay in long enough to be a Master Gunnery Sergeant. You're a tremendous asset to the Marine Corps. And it was my privilege having you in my section during that period of time. Joe Petto, Joe, you're just phenomenal. Unsung hero. You know, when we were thinking about deputies as I was heading out the door and Paul was taking over the section, I just had to, you know, we thought of Joe in a heartbeat. And then I mentioned Paul Skopowski, just a phenomenal individual. You know, he's talking about these things that I did. Paul is really the brains behind a lot of this stuff. He is so sharp. I've sat down sometimes and when it comes to conversations about, you know, strategy and things like that, it takes a lot to impress me. But Paul just blows me away. I gotta tell you, that guy can break down a problem that we find out about and see all the pieces behind it. I really hope that he makes SES someday, because we need guys like him with vision, the ability to take apart issues and get things done. So a lot of the amazing things that have happened in the 5, I just got to be kind of the head of that stuff, and Paul really did all the hard work. You know, so, you know, Paul, just tremendous work. I wanted to note a few guys at Syscom that really made our life much easier. Mike Cirillo, you're sitting back there, gonna be the 06, I guess you're technically the 0650 now because you haven't pinned on Lieutenant Colonel, but you are. We used to work together back at 3MEF together, and then he came up, and a lot of people don't like Mike because he writes long sentences and uses big words, but you know what, Mike? You're just not as smart as we are, that's it. So just take that into consideration. There's people like this around there. Kind of like that Mensa thing. You ever seen that Simpsons where they get together with the Mensa? Al Cruz, who couldn't be here. Al has been, I've known him since my time at Systems Command. He did great work for us. Chrissy Cooney, just always seemed really, she is a hard-working individual. And I don't like the work of contracting. I could never do it. I think I would probably end my life if I got put in a contracting officer position. But she does it really well. I'm just joking about ending my life. I'm just using hyperbole, okay? But it's really hard and difficult. And then finally, Major Byron Harder, you've just done tremendous work in terms of trying to get ITSM off the ground. Okay, we're still doing well on time here. I wanted to thank the S5, all the people, and I'm sorry if I forget to mention anybody who worked for me that feels wounded that I didn't mention by name. I tried to think of as many people as I could, but you guys have had to deal with a lot over the years in terms of strategy shifts and things like that. We're often like a dog that gets on a really long leash and then the choke chain comes in a full sprint, and I really appreciate the work you guys have done over the last few years, and dealing especially with my personality has been a blessing to me that you were able to do that. A little bit about the Marine Corps. You know, I think that one person told me early on, one of the great things about the Marine Corps is you get the best of it and you get the worst of it. You get the absolute worst things that you have to do in life, but then you get to wear this uniform and you also get to lead Marines, and there's nothing better. I can't think of a institution on this earth that I love outside the church more than I love the Marine Corps. It just represents everything good about hard work, America, and everything else. It's been a tremendous blessing being a leader of Marines, much less a Marine. The personalities are what makes it great. You know, you run into all these colorful people throughout the Marine Corps. Guys that, you know, one minute, I remember one warrant officer, Chief Officer Clark, I don't know if he made it or not, but I remember one minute he's like, you know, getting all fired up to say, I'm just going to ignore that guy for a while because he does great work even though he's cussing up a storm, getting all worked up. I think Chief Officer Rodriguez remembers some of that stuff, and I know Chris whatever does. But the personalities are what makes it great. Just a little bit of advice, such as it is, since I get to stand up here and you guys have to listen to me. Don't ever be afraid of saying you're wrong or repenting for doing wrong. Now, I have plenty of opportunity to do that, so I'm very practiced at it. But, you know, part of the problem that we have is people think they lose esteem in other people's eyes because they say they're wrong. People know you're wrong, and it shows you're a bigger man or woman when you actually admit it to them and you say you're sorry for something that you did that was inappropriate. So do that. You'll actually be increased in the esteem of others rather than be brought down. Know your MOS. Know your skill. Don't hide behind the words. Know what you're doing out there. And then on top of that, be creative. Be creative with what you know. Now that reminds me of something that happened years ago. Jacob Pearl, who flew all the way from California to see me. I was blown away when I invited him to the RSV PBS. I thought maybe it was a mistake, but he came. I don't know if you remember, like, I was here at Syscon the first time, it was like 97, 98, we were in the Modern Art Museum, and I was busting all of Picasso's work, and like, this is dumb, I could do this kind of stuff, you know? And he's like, well, you gotta understand, Rich, you know, Picasso could draw all those fancy things and everything, like sculpt, you know, all the portraits and everything else, but he kind of moved beyond that. And I thought for a second, I thought, it looks dumb, okay? Now that reminded me, though, I used that story throughout my career, though, when I was trying to teach young officers how the difference between warfighting is an art or a science. Strategy is this an art or a science? And it's a false dichotomy. In order to do the art, you have to be like that PBS guy who used to draw the happy trees and all that other stuff. You have to have the technique in order to become an artist. You have to know everything about what you're doing in order to start being creative. So there's no tension. So what I'm trying to tell you is know what you're doing and then figure out new ways of doing things. We often get stuck in the way we do things because we're not creative in what we know. The last thing I would mention, or this is the second last thing, the last one's trivial, this one's important. Learn ethics, and don't forget that as we continue to move into society away from fixed ethics, that there's a difference between what society says is acceptable in the common view of things and what is fixed. Now I know that part of the problem is people are going to say there's nothing fixed, and that's the problem. The fact of the matter is there are plenty of societies throughout history where the consensus was to trample on the little guy or to kill the undesirable or to say we're redefining things. The fact of the matter is we actually have a constitution that's fixed, and that keeps people from the mores moving in directions and protects the little guys. And when we start redefining words so that we lose freedom of speech and everything else, we're in trouble. So learn the difference between those and stay fixed, even as people around you are saying, society's moving in this direction. Society's been moving all over the place for years. Try and figure out what's fixed and stay with it. The last thing is trivial, but this is a pet peeve. Buy flowers for your wife at these ceremonies. Use your own personal money to donate to the Wounded Warriors Foundation, okay? Donate enough money, but at these ceremonies, I don't know when this happened, like 5 years ago, a donation to the Wounded Warriors is being made in lieu of flowers. No, buy flowers. They love them, okay? Buy flowers for them, please. And then go and donate money to the Wounded Warriors in addition to giving your wife flowers. Maybe you could say, flowers are being presented to the wife, and we also contributed money. That'd be awesome. Just stop this whole thing with you don't give flowers because they like them. So that's it on advice. I do want to note a few friends that are here today. Leonard and Amy Bailey. Leonard's the pastor of my congregation. His wife Amy, and just a tremendous friend and brother in the Lord. Thank you for your friendship. Jay and Brenda Storms, I've known since their kids were smaller than my own. Jay is such a close friend of mine over the years. We spent so much time running together, talking together. You know, I remember the other day I was talking to Sonia like, Jay's coming back tomorrow. You know, it's kind of like a kid waiting for his best friend to come back so they can go smoke a cigar and talk together. Jay, you're just a tremendous friend. I really appreciate our friendship, the depth of conversations we've had, and the time that we've served to the Marine Corps. It's just been great. Thank you for being here today. Doug and Mary Jane Kittredge, I don't know if they could be here today, but Doug is the pastor of Stair Yard. Doug, just tremendous mentor over the years, encouraged me to get into more teaching ministry in the church, and so thank you so much for being here and for your continued instruction and humility in the Lord. Larry and Barbara Lady, great friends. This is the kind of friends they are that they actually are in their house right now on the promise that we're going to buy their land. No contract. But this is the kind of integrity two men can have together in friendship, and he's willing to do that. And so thank you for that friendship that we've had over the years and the blessing that you've been to our family as well. Jacob Pearl, I already mentioned, is here today, so thank you, Jacob. We've been friends for a long time. I've known you longer than I've known Sonia, so it says a lot. Jed and Jennifer Recker made it up from Cherry Point. Good friends, great friends in Okinawa, and so thank you so much for being at my retirement today and for the friendship over the years. Johnny and Catherine Chapman, another young man I trained as a young man in comm school, New Okinawa. Saw him get married, and just great to have you as a friend and brother in the Lord. Ben and Aaron Wicker. Ben was my pastor in California, and they moved to Maryland, so it was really cool. Now you guys, how many kids do you have now? 7? Just 6. Okay, all right. Well, I thought. And then Russ Moore is here. Russ, thank you for your friendship over the years. And unfortunately, you couldn't be here. We almost had the whole version of your family. Just had great conversations over the years. So thank you so much. All right, you guys getting going yet? Because I'm just getting started. All right, and just my church family, thank you so much. Thank you, Sarah, for singing. Her voice is beautiful. She's just a tremendous talent. She sings in Christian Youth Theater. She's had a number of leading roles, and thank you. I know you guys have so much going on. She's playing in an orchestra this weekend in the Sound of Music, so she has a lot to encourage you guys. Oh, thank you so much.